1, 2, 3.
This is nuts.
No, this is X-Rated, the X-Men animated review show. Come on now, it's not that bad. We are your hosts, Bearded Davnito, and with me is, yeah.
I'm not capable of mastering anything like that. I can't.
I can't master this hosting thing, but I'm gonna try.
I thought that was supposed to be. I was going to say I sound pretty pathetic. I can't.
No,
that's
me. That's me. With me is my co-host, Chardre.
Beautiful.
Who? Me?
Yeah, you. Yeah,
That'll be my
you,
reaction if someone ever called me beautiful as well. Well, me?
Me? What?
Yeah.
You sure?
Yeah.
Yeah, we're here to review Season 4, Episode 9 of X-Men Animated Series, One Man's Worth, Part 1. Written by Richard Mueller and directed by
Mueller?
Larry Houston.
Mueller?
Yes, Mueller.
Mueller?
Yes.
Mueller?
Mueller.
Mueller?
Am I not getting a reference?
Have you ever seen Ferris Bueller's Day Off?
Oh, yeah.
Remember the guy,
okay.
Ben Stein's like Bueller?
Instead of Bueller. Yes, I get you.
Mueller. They're very similar sounding names. You see, the joke is funnier when you explain it.
Well, maybe you should have started off with the explanation and it would have been a lot smoother.
Oh, God damn it. All right.
How are things going, Andre? How was your week?
It's all right, I guess. Kind of a long day at work today.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Is that why you sent me the wrong images for this episode?
No, because I think I Googled the episode and I may have Googled the wrong one, I'm guessing, because
images from part 2?
I guess maybe I just put in maybe I didn't put in the part 1 and then it just gave me a bunch of images of part 2, because there are stuff like, but when I was watching the episode, like, I actually forgot to watch it this morning. I was doing cardio, so I watched it tonight. And when I finished watching it, I was like, none of those images were in that, so I had to go back and revise them. We had bearded Magneto, got it done
just in time.
Yeah, that's right.
We got bearded Magneto.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Also known as Jack Lyncher.
Jack Lyncher? He goes by Jack?
Yeah, because he's so jacked. Get it? It's a joke. See, it's better if you explain it.
I see.
It's funnier that way.
I'm enjoying it now that I know.
I'm off to a great start.
Sure are. What are we drinking tonight, David?
Just Earl Grey tea out of my Spider-Man mug.
Usually have a beer or something cool.
Yeah, well, I'm not so cool. I got a baby and another on the way. I gotta stop being so cool.
Well, I got no babies and none on the way, so I'm drinking tonight because I had a rough day. So,
well, you deserve it then. What you got there? Fundy Gin.
Fundy Gin from wood-fired, still-fired distilleries in the valley.
Where in the valley is that one now?
They're like a legal moonshine distillery. They're the only one in Nova Scotia, I believe. Lequille County, Lequille, Lequille. They're down near.
It's not a real place.
Well, it says here. Country, Lequille Country Store in Lequille, NS. It's not a county.
There you go.
Yeah, they're down in the valley near I guess Snapless Valley, because I've seen them at the farmers market down there. But they had an event here in Truro called Bottled a while ago with all these fancy like drinks from different distilleries, and they were there. And I've had their regular gin before, but not their barrel aged gin, which is like a stronger blend. And I got number 2. I didn't even realize on the bottle, which is kind of fun. Yeah, it's really good, really good. If you like gins, this is a solid. Solid.
I do like gin.
Yeah, me too. Gin and whiskey are generally my go-tos, but
yeah, me too.
Rock with gin today. So I've been listening to your show, your other show.
How How much have you
I've
listened
listened
to?
to 3 episodes, I think. Was the one with
Well, if you'd like to talk to us about anything, Murphy's listening right now, I think.
oh, is he? Well, it's a lot of you guys yelling at each other, that's for sure. But I actually
Well,
surprisingly enjoyed it. Not that I didn't think I'd like it as much. I do listen to a lot of movie podcasts, but I was like, I'm just going to tune into this and see, if I enjoyed enough to keep going. I mean, some joy when you guys really don't agree on movies, especially because I'm a big movie guy, so I've seen a lot. And like listening to Murphy lose his mind about the Tingler.
oh yeah, he lost it.
I feel like I think he was a bit too rough on the Tingler. I think you were a bit too rough, way too rough on Southland Tales. You were like
No,
literally
that's a piece of garbage.
you were like so
trash
angry
garbage.
about a movie.
It's not even a movie, and it
means
wasted 3
different
hours
things
of my
to
life.
different people.
No, that means nothing to no one.
I've never even seen all of it, but
And I
I'm
stand
still
by
finding
that.
myself defending it because, like,
No, it's
oh.
empty calories, and they're not even. I don't even know if there's calories. It's just empty.
Have you watched any other Richard Kelly movies? He doesn't have a lot. It's that Donnie
No,
Darko.
I don't think. Oh yeah, I've seen Donnie. I didn't like Donnie Darko either.
No, I really like Donnie Darko and The Box, which is an interesting film. So I'm not quite sure how. It's sort of a reimagining of an old Twilight Zone episode, but it's interesting.
Well, I'm glad you liked it.
I'm digging the show. Like I said, it's a bit.
We get along some episodes.
I actually, yeah. Well, no, it's kind of funny when you guys don't. The only thing is, when you don't, you really don't, and sometimes you're just like screaming at each other, and it's like, oh, like that one. At least Dave was in the middle to be like, okay, guys, let's try to keep this on the rails.
Well, just wait till you get to the politics episode. We give Dave what for. He comes back and.
Well, just looking at the movies you guys are picking, I'm curious as to what the theme is on some of them.
Well, I've tried to explain this before. It's easy to just go in and pick the best movies that everybody knows.
Oh, I'm not saying the best, just ones that are kind of more about the subject you're talking about. Like what?
See, that's okay. That's not even the point either.
They don't need to be bad or good. I'm just like ones that seem to illustrate the point more. Like,
well, I don't want to. I want the theming to be looser than that because I don't want the 3 movies we choose to be too samey or to share their themes too much. I just kind of want a loose thread for narrative reasons, and the way we're doing it so far, I think we're coming up with really random selections of movies.
So, what's the theme for Soylent Green, Medicine Man, and I Heart Huckabees?
Environmentalism, but like if you wait till you get to that episode, I go off on how I Heart Huckabees is not an environmentalism movie.
Not at all. That's why I'm wondering why it's even in that list. It's an existential. Did he misread existentialism and environmentalism?
I make the point that it's about existentialism. You'll like my critique.
I've seen it. I 100% know that's what it's about. It's I actually like the movie. It's been a long time since I watched it, but what's the apartment, Gremlins, and Tokyo Godfathers?
Christmas.
Okay, Chris. The Apartment is a pretty far reach for Christmas.
Barely, I know. Yeah, and, we go off on that one too.
Gremlins, I get. Tokyo Godfather, I've never seen. Sometimes I feel. Well, I mean, hey, it's your guys' show, but the end.
He missed a couple picks because he looked at lists of that were like, here's an environmentalism movies, and like I Heart Huckabees was on there, so he believed the list. But it's good because we often pick movies we haven't seen, so.
Yeah, that's fair.
Sometimes there's a mispick, but it made for funny us tearing the crap out of I Heart Huckabees.
Yeah, so you guys both did not care for it?
No.
Yeah, I don't know. It's been a long time since I've watched it, but I remember liking it at the time. I know the director of it. What's his face?
He's not a nice fella.
Yeah, he's had some issues, but what is this? Who directed it again? It's someone that's fairly famous now.
I don't know. He's the guy who just like yelled and threw shit at Lily Tomlin. That's all I know.
That was one of the running things of it, but who directed it? Oh, David O. Russell. Oh, yeah. No, he's, he's a very famous director. I'm sure
he thinks he's very famous. That's what I got.
Well, American Hustle was a very popular movie. So was Silver Linings Playbook, Joy, Amsterdam, that came out last year. I didn't see that one, but I've heard good things. The Fighter, Three Kings, all good stuff. But yeah, I mean,
keep
a lot of these
chugging along with it because we
I'm enjoying it. It's fun. I'm digging it. So it makes me more inclined to want to be on it if I can ever find the time.
Good. I had a segment waiting for you, man.
Oh, do you? Is it the one where I picked your movies because You gotta like.
No, you can. No, you can pick every now and then. But if we have a guest, there's no free picks. But you can have an end segment if you like. Anyway,
End a segment.
So, yeah, more like a wrap up, a wind down. But anyway,
okay. We'll discuss.
Let's get into it. Season 4, episode 9, One Man's Worth.
What is one man worth, Davan?
What is one podcast worth?
That's a separate question. But what is one man's worth? Can one man truly make a difference? This episode,
I would say about $36.
The value of one man is $36.
Yeah.
Well, I think if you look at what a person's organs are worth on the illegal organ trade, you'll find it's much more than $36. So you're made up of.
I was talking about a smoker.
You're made up of probably
so
about
the organs are
dollars worth of healthy organs that, if assuming they're healthy, that you can get on the black market. So they're probably about $200,000-$300,000. So everybody has to work.
X-Men.
I'll interrupt you now with that.
You can always give me a little bit of warning.
Thanks to you, O Lord. For you were angry with me. Anger turned away.
Oh, that ending's so funny.
I will trust and will not be afraid.
Wolverine reading from the Bible is one of the strangest things. It just seems so off-brand.
It's pretty funny.
Oh, Lord, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death.
I take a look at my life.
Oh, are we doing Amish Paradise? I'd much prefer that.
No. Oh, God.
Through the valley
into the next
I harvest
episode.
my corn.
Murphy's making me watch a Weird Al movie for the next episode of Hold
Which one?
UHF?
Oh, it's a fantastic movie.
I don't find Weird Al funny, so I'm not looking forward to it.
That movie is actually more clever than his general type of. I found
that's good. I find his songs are just so very obvious. It's like if anyone tried to rewrite the words to those songs, they'd come up with the exact same thing.
Well, that's saying that that you find Batman too dark. It's like to say that means Weird Al's the one who started the parody trend. To say that his stuff is broad, it wasn't broad when he started it. It's just broad now because you've had decades of it. You can't fault him for being too much what he is when he started the trend of what he is.
Pardon me that. I just don't find the lyrics funny, or I just find them obvious.
Well, I mean, parody is kind of like that. But I showed it at one of the movie nights I do here in town not too long ago. So I got to rewatch it again recently, and it's actually, it's pretty clever. It's if you like, it's kind of like
Airplane. Like bad covers.
Pardon?
And he's not. I don't like bad covers of songs. So he's just taking a song that a good singer is usually singing, and he sings it badly. But
if you just say I don't like, I actually think he's a good singer. But if you say I don't like bad anything, it's like I don't like bad animals. I don't like bad dogs.
No, but if I hear somebody cover a song, I want them to somehow be better at it than the person.
Well, it's rare. I'm usually content with different. If it's the same song relatively, then maybe not so much. But anyway, so we're here with One Man's Worth Part 1, in which we go once again deep into the time traveling rabbit hole that is Bishop and whatever fractured weird ass timeline he's in now. Because at the end of this would be the third time we've seen Bishop messing around in the time stream trying to save the past, and every time he manages to do so, he just goes back to the future, finding out that there's some other thing that caused.
There's always Forge. Forge is always standing there, be like, "Let's go again."
Forge's like, "I'm not sure what you did this time, but it wasn't right. It's still messed up." Kind of reminds me of
They've gone back before you. You must get help and stop them before they change time forever.
Oh my God, that "Hey Hoser" has been deleted from my soundboard for 2 weeks now. It still keeps going off.
Really?
Oh my God, yeah.
It's just a digital soundboard. Get a different one.
I'm gonna. I just didn't have time this week. By next week, I'll have a new one.
Ah, dear God in heaven. All right.
I know.
Yeah, so it kind of reminds me of I've been watching the Umbrella Academy. I'm on season 3 because it's been a while since I got around to it. And a friend of mine moved back to Toronto who's a background actor, and he's working on the show, and he reminded me of it. So I started watching it again. I dig the show, but it seems like every season they just go somewhere else, and they're like, "Oh wait, the apocalypse followed us here, and then we got to figure out how to stop it again." So it really feels like Bishop's.
I stopped watching shows.
Yeah. There's one thing about your podcast that I found is you have a very big mental block about anything that's come out since 1999, And,
Oh yeah, I don't know anything.
like to the point that you just dismiss it immediately, and you have to. It's a big uphill
It
battle.
has to impress me.
It's a big uphill battle for it to impress you.
Agreed. That's
so-
the format of the podcast, and the old stuff has to do the same for Murphy. Like he was so hard on the Tingler, like
oh for sure.
You know, it's from the 50s, right? Like,
Yeah, and that's what I mean. Like if you're gonna shit on something, like to shit on something for being formulaic, you got to realize that the formula came from it. So like it was unique when it was made. But you know, context is important in those sort of things. So let me skip through the intro here. And
I do admit my bias.
Yeah, it's the first step.
A show about a
90s
cartoon.
Well, that's true. First step to change. So we get a fun little time loop bit in here that kind of does a wraparound of this episode, starting with May 11th, 1959, in which this timeline kind of gives us a relative idea about how old Charles Xavier is in this show, because he would have been about 18, 19, 20 in 1959.
Yeah.
So that means he's about
makes sense.
60 in the X-Men show.
Born in 39. Yeah, it all makes sense. Yep,
but you know, he's still pretty old considering, like, you know, how jacked he is and running
Magneeto's
around.
Probably a couple years older than him.
So we see Bishop in the 40s. We see Bishop and Wolverine in an outfit that is minus the missing hand and the missing and the red marks on his face. Wolverine in an outfit that is very reminiscent of his Age of Apocalypse outfit. We also see
Rogue. A lot of reminiscences to the Age of Apocalypse.
Oh, this storyline is 100% adapted from Age of Apocalypse. They've just changed. Oh, yeah. They've just changed who started it and kind of why, but it's relatively as similar. It's very, very similar. They just swapped out Apocalypse with someone else, which we'll get to.
But Apocalypse, I think, shows up in the next one.
He is, but he's not the one who started everything, or not.
No.
Yeah, not that it was him who started it in the original Age of Apocalypse, but he's less of central point than other things. But anyway, we see Storm, who's in her flashy 80s outfit with the mohawk and all that fun stuff. And the Wolverine and her and Bishop are fighting Nimrod while we see.
Doesn't she look great? Mohawk Storm with a bandana.
Yeah, it's funny because almost every future version of the X-Men are in their Age of Apocalypse outfits except hers, which reverts to her 80s punk outfit. Which is kind of cool. I like that they went that road. She does look very like Mad Maxian, which I think is probably what they're
doing. Underneath the kind of tattered coat, that's sort of her Age of Apocalypse one. Though in the Age of Apocalypse, she had short hair, not a mohawk.
Yeah, exactly. But I like this version of her better. So we see but with animation, it's hard to tell these things. But we see a younger Charles Xavier, you know, coming out to see what's going on, and then his door was ready to explode when he opened it, and then we see Bishop, you know, yell. But then we cut from there back to our future, which is 2055, in which Forge is telling Bishop and Shard, who's my namesake today, if you didn't pick that up, Shardray,
my Shard action figure.
Yep. Who it was a character I don't know a lot about in X-Men because
Bishop's sister.
Oh, that makes sense. Why is she his half sister?
Yeah, I don't
make her very light skinned in the show if she's not.
Yeah, and that's always been the case. I don't know the details of that. It might just be a choose your family type of thing. Who knows?
So Forge sends them back in time. He says that Fitzroy, who we don't know who that is yet, but we will learn, and his partner, whose name escapes me at the moment, who kind of looks like an off-brand Toad, green guy, have gone back and already started the process of changing the future, and that they need to go back and stop him. So they run into the back, and then we're back to our normal team, in which we see Rogue, Professor X, and Wolverine.
I shall avoid the Garden of Eden parallel Beast would surely make.
Storm comments on a beastism before it happens. I found that very funny.
Well, Storm says that in relation to the fact that Logan offers her an apple. As you said at the beginning of the episode, she says beautiful to a butterfly. Wolverine makes that comment. Are you talking to me? Because he's nearby in a tree. He offers her an apple. He's also in a very hair, I like Wolverine's outfit in this. He's like super hairy, little tank top, little short shorts, some kind of high top sneakers.
Everybody has ripped sleeves.
This is before this. We're still in a regular day X-Men. These are just them hanging out in the backyard of the The X
Right,
Mansion.
my bad.
There's a little flirtatious exchange between the two of them, which is fun, seeing where we're headed with them in the future, or rather
I
in
have
the alternate
always
timeline.
resisted the idea that knowledge ruined paradise.
I like how they kind of do a whole religion story in the previous episode and then cut right back to Professor X sort of dismissing it. I mean, I wouldn't say he's dismissing all of religion, but he's also saying, like, and he's got a point. I mean, knowledge is the thing that got Adam and Eve kicked out of the Garden of Eden. It's like, well, seeking knowledge really that bad of a thing? Apparently in God's eyes it is. So,
and that's, speaks to the ignorance of, hatred towards mutants and things like that.
Yeah, possibly so. But as the X-Men are getting ready to have a picnic together, the three of them here, there appears to sort of a temporal displacement happens, which apparently Professor X has a sensor rigged up to his chair to tell him whenever there's a temporal displacement or problem going on nearby, because as the sky turns red and everything starts getting sucked into it, Xavier's little screen on his chair says temporal disturbance and flashes. But as the sort of, it kind of caused a bit of an explosion, which makes Xavier fade out of existence, and then Storm and Storm and Wolverine hug to try to save themselves from the blast, and then we see them sort of change into the versions of Wolverine and Storm as seen here that we saw earlier. So Wolverine in the dark ripped outfit, with Storm in the mohawk and the more 80s kind of Mad Max
bandana.
Cool bandana mismatch, indicating that Xavier disappeared from existence while these two were altered, being that the timeline has changed. And as we come to learn, Xavier's not in this timeline, which is why he disappeared. The other two were altered because now they're fitting into whatever their current new timeline is based on what happened in the past, which we'll learn as to what that is soon enough. But anyway, they know where they are. Like, as they change and the timeline changed around them, we have to learn, but they are aware of where they are, because to them, this has always been the way things were. And I can hear myself in my headphones. Am I in a speaker there?
No, I have my earphones on. I don't hear you echoing.
Interesting. Okay.
If anyone listening hears an echo, let us know. Is Andre echoing? Continue.
So just a little bit. It's like kind of mild in the background, but anywho, so Beast jumps in and kind of saves them from some helicarrier looking things that are shooting at them. And we kind of learn that it's an ongoing war between the mutants and the humans, as it would seem. The Beast has this cool eye patch thing on, and like a little red thing with an X through it, and he's got all kind of 80s
he's all mech'd out.
He's all mech'd out with like metal tech on him and stuff, and which is fun.
What are you doing here, McCoy? Milking cookies run out of the officer's tent.
So he's an officer, I guess. I don't know. He's just their science guy, likely, so doesn't take part in all the battles. And
basically, at this point,
jibe about that.
A group of robots and ships that seem to be robotically piloted are all attacking mutants of different times. We see them defending themselves.
We lose Magneto. We lose the war.
There's a bird guy with laser vision that appears. It kind of seems like Scott Summers with wings.
I know who that is.
Oh, do you? Who is that?
It's Mimic.
Oh,
Calvin
okay.
Rankin. Calvin Rankin.
But his costume is kind of...
that's the first Mimic costume. They're using the one from Stanley 60s stuff, where he looked very much like the four members. Like, he's got Beast's big hands and Angel's wings. Even though I think they color them brown. At least once he hits the ground, they're brown.
So he gets captured by a robot, and then Magneto shows up and saves him, who's bearded and long hair and kind of a ripped up version of his costume with he looks way more jacked, and he's also got a bunch of metal pieces on him as well, which is kind of cool. Yeah, I think he's I like this look for Beast. I like this sort of, or for Magneto, I like this sort of post-apocalyptic skinning of the X-Men, which is kind of cool.
Well, he's still got time to go to the gym.
Yep. Yeah. At some point in between the issues. So as the robots are attacking, Magneto's continuing to fight against them. This is where Wolverine sees Magneto's in trouble and says they gotta work together to stop him. If they lose Magneto, they lose the war. But Magneto is under trouble. We do see Storm and Wolverine embrace, and it becomes apparent that there's maybe more to their relationship than just friends, as we come to learn later. We haven't got to the part where it's revealed how close they are, but we'll get to that soon enough. We see Magneto still struggling to fight this sort of robot thing. We see the X-Men, well, essentially Rogue, Beast, and Storm, Wolverine, and Beast run into battle alongside a couple of familiar characters for those that are.
Oh my god!
For those that are familiar with the X-Men Age of Apocalypse storyline, we see Sabretooth and Wild Child running into battle.
Wild Child. You want to see my Wild Child action figure?
I do not want to see your Wild Child, sir. Okay, I'm glad you said action figure. So yeah, they run into battle, so that's kind of fun. We do get to see like seeing all these different versions of the X-Men from this alternate timeline was pretty neat. We also see the Colossus in his Age of Apocalypse attire with the big bandana with the bands in the back.
Bandana. Colossus,
there's quite a few cameos in here. I mean, I can go through them all. We can save them for later, but it is pretty cool seeing some of these characters pop up as then they there's
like
up.
Then there's a whole bunch of more cameos later. This episode's loaded.
It's loaded, and there's also like non-X-Men cameos, which is kind of cool too.
Yeah, that's what I was referring to. Yeah.
Oh yes, well we'll probably have to address that because it is kind of key to the storyline. But we do see Magneto coming in for the rescue.
Sent in another wave of superhumans.
Yeah, so Magneto's still struggling, but using his powers as best he can as he's being attacked from all sides, but using his powers to subdue the robots as best he can. Storm is knocked down, but then rescued by a future version of Nightcrawler, who kind of hops
nice to see him again.
Yeah, like
right after the Nightcrawler episode.
That's true, and it's important that this played out the way it did in order of the story. Otherwise, you'd have no idea who he was. He doesn't have any lines or anything. He just pops in kind of a more techie version of his costume, more armory version. Fucks up a few of the machines.
Definitely not Age of Apocalypse Nightcrawler, because he was a bad man.
Right. Yes, he was. One thing that's neat about Beast's sort of robotic future outfit is you'll notice on one of his hands he has Wolverine claws. It's like he gave himself that sort of addition to his costume to give him an edge, I guess, which is kind of fun. So yeah, which is I just noticed that for the first time now, actually. But yeah, we see other mutants in battle here, which is kind of neat. Sinister is on the side of the X-Men here in the future. We see Gambit's missing an arm, but also in battle. So at some point in this future, he lost an arm. Fighting alongside Mr. Sinister's Genocide, is that his name? Or Holocaust?
Oh, Holocaust. Yeah, like that's a powerhouse. They're loaded.
Yeah, which is an interesting cameo. Also, a very Age of Apocalypse character. We see someone that appears.
They changed his name to Nemesis to be less offensive.
Yeah, it's kind of offensive. I mean, depends on the term Holocaust existed before it got attributed to the Holocaust as we know it now, but it is a little unnecessary to use that term. So we see what I'm assuming to be a Toad variant in the future. But as One-Armed Gambit gets hurt, he gets taken to safety by Beast.
I want to change my name to One-Armed Gambit.
One-Armed Gambit. Well, it's funny because, like a one-armed bandit's like a gambling machine, which is also a form of Gambit. So he's like a one-armed Gambit.
Yeah.
So, Wolverine sees that Storm was injured, runs over and helps her up, taking her to safety. They hug, and then we see that they both have wedding rings, and that, in fact, in this future, they are married to one another. Which is very sweet. Okay. And at the beginning of this episode, it shows a little bit of flirtation between the two of them, which I thought was cool. But I liked how that led into showing a future where they're actually, or an alternate timeline where they're married to one another, which actually, as we've talked about in the past, is a much more, to me, a much more interesting relationship for Wolverine.
For both of them.
Yeah, essentially so. I guess Storm's had a pretty full dance card at different times in the comics, but as one of the robots gets dispersed by Magneto, we see its human crew come running out, made up of various alternate timeline versions of, I'm guessing, Captain America, the guy with the shield. There's Goliath.
This guy?
Yeah, I'm assuming he'd have to be a version of Captain America. There's Goliath. There's a woman to the right, looks very much like Black Widow. The guy to the left, I have no idea who that's supposed to be. But
I don't know either. I was staring at it for a long time.
I think
trying
he might
to
just
figure
be
it out.
generic, dude. He's got like a weird thing in his hand, which I don't know. It could be Tony Stark, I guess, not his armor.
Maybe. Yeah,
it does look Tony Starkian. So Goliath turns big and goes into battle. We see Wasp as well on their side coming in to assist.
Yeah.
We see we'll call him the Captain America analog, shooting some beams. Storm gets grabbed by Goliath. She escapes with her powers. Basically, we see Rogue very briefly as well, which is funny.
She flies in with somebody in her hands. Like, I'm not sure who it is.
Yeah, who uses his powers to send the superhumans away. And as you see the superhumans get sent away, you get a kind of a close look at a few of them. Not a close look, but you can see a few of them. It's the ones we saw earlier. But with them is obviously Hercules from the X-Men, or from the Avengers. And obviously the Ben Reilly Scarlet Spider costume, the red with the blue hoodie.
What? I missed that.
No, he's 100. He's got the little silver gauntlets on his hands and everything, and he gets sent back as well.
Oh my god!
So yeah, and he's even got the little little ankle pouches on and everything. So it's a neat little nod to what's going on in comics at the time, which is fun.
This is a very 90s episode.
Oh yes, Wolverine runs back to safety. We see Gambit recovering, being worked on by, I'm guessing, Jean Grey, and only see her briefly. You see Peepers and some of the Morlocks in the background. Callisto's there. When Wolverine first runs up to the base, we see
Where can I find Dr. Summers?
Yes, which I believe is supposed to be Jean, because you see her kind of in a nurse doctor outfit. She's got that nurse hat on, but also kind of like a superhero costume. But when he runs up to the door, you see Morph, like the version of Morph with the white face.
Way Morph.
Yeah, the Exiles Morph.
There he is.
To the left there, yeah. When you run into there, you see various people from the series on stretchers. Sunfire is there, being worked on by...
Pyro's there.
Yeah, or Pyro, that's what I meant to say. Being worked on by
We see Sunfire during that fight, though. The guy flying around with flame is Sunfire.
That makes sense.
Sunfire. Yeah.
So when they're in their medical tent, they get attacked by another robot. But then oh my god, why am I blanking on his name? From the Hellfire Club, the guy that can make him not Vanisher. What's his name?
Mr. Mind's there. Yep.
Mr. Mind. That's it. Yeah. So Mastermind. So he runs out and uses his abilities to hide the area where the hospital is, which is kind of fun to see some of these characters pop up and using their powers for good in this alternate timeline.
Yeah, it reminds you of the Krakoan era where they're all working together. It's like kind of a different version of that.
So while this battle's going on, Bishop and Shard appear in this timeline and are looking for, Professor Xavier, but realizing they didn't go back far enough, and now they're in the alternate reality where this is what's come after Fitzroy and this other guy have done their evil deed.
How do you know our names, Roadkill? And what are X-Men?
Yeah, so they're saying that there are no X-Men in this timeline. Wolverine overhears them. Bishop is happy to see that there are X-Men in this timeline. They just don't know that they're X-Men because there's
Fitzroy and Bantam.
Bantam, that's his name, yeah. So basically, through I can kind of gloss through a bit of this, but Shard,
a lot of fight scenes.
Yeah, but Shard and Bishop basically explain.
Oh my god! Last week with this one, I promise.
Okay. So basically, the fighting is continuing. We see a few of the acolytes in the battle as well. We also see different version of Giant Man overhead, the red costume version.
The red one.
So we see
It's weird. When did he change costumes?
Well, I think there's maybe two different people in this timeline, perhaps. But it's funny because you see a lot of these little cameos, people just fighting overhead or flying by or something like that, which is kind of fun. The animation in this episode isn't. I think it might be the B team.
Yeah, maybe.
But there's some interesting stuff, some cool designs on the robots too. But as the battle continues, basically the rest of them move on to the X Mansion where they're trying to find safety. But when they have a quiet moment, the Shard and Bishop reveal to Storm and Wolverine the way that our world was, and how Xavier had done so much. The two of them are sort of amazed that one man could have had such an impact on the world, but
one man's worth, you might say.
With your help, we're going to save the life of Charles Xavier.
Who is Charles Xavier?
So they run through basically all the stuff he did with the government and all that sort of stuff and making changes. But then Bishop explains that there's another mutant from the future named... we also see what Bishop's timeline looks like, and where he got to that point.
I like this line, too.
Wolverine, you and Storm worked with him. It was a constant struggle.
But it was better than this. Much better.
It still sucks, but, it's better than this.
At least I got to have a picnic every once in a while, which is what they were having before all this got interrupted.
You'll face constant attacks and prejudice, but
yeah. But
Sun's
at
side
least
up.
at least you get to go to the mall occasionally, or go
Yeah,
to the beach,
Yeah.
or get a
Skiing.
vacation away. Ski, yeah, sometime. Oh, right, and maybe visit a monster in the Swiss Alps. So basically, they learn that in their timeline, there's a mutant named Fitzroy who sold out the mutant race to the Master Mold, basically agreeing to go
Trevor
back in time.
Fitzroy.
Yeah, with his little psychic bantam, who agrees to go
One of
back
the
in
most
time.
90s of X-Men villains.
Fitzroy was his name, Fitzroy in the comic, or did he have a more,
Trevor Fitzroy. Yeah.
He does look very 90s.
Oh yeah.
With a green hair. Actually, is he supposed to be Gideon? He looks very much like Gideon.
No.
He looks very much like him. He's got the little black thing, and
He kind of looks like Black Tom Cassidy too. He's like a mixture between Black Tom Cassidy and Gideon.
Actually, I would say he's more of a mixture between Gideon and Bastion with his designs. He's got that black little thing that goes under his lip like that. Anyway, so he goes back in time basically with the help of Master Mold to get rid of Xavier and change Xavier's influence on mutant kind, which is kind of funny to me whenever someone does stuff like this, because you're like, I'm going to send you back in time to change the timeline so that Xavier's never around. But like, you won't even know that you did this if the guy succeeds. Like, you'll never know that your timeline is different or that anything changed. You would just be in your new reality and never know that anything was ever different. I guess that's the goal.
To a shitty reality. Yeah, that's the goal. Maybe they don't want to remember all the horrible stuff they've been through too. You know?
Well, I suppose they'd just be happy to live in a world where, they got what they wanted.
Live in a world where on Tuesday nights you can listen to us talk about X-Men. That's the world they want to live in.
It's a pretty good world. So Fitzroy, Bantam, and a Nimrod are sent back in time by Master Mold to kill Professor Xavier, basically, and that's
Nimrod's back,
and they succeed, which is why we have the world we live in now with these alternate versions of the X-Men. But Bishop convinces Storm and Cyclops after letting actually no, that's a little later. But anyway, they convince them that they need to come back with them into the past and help them save Professor Xavier, to save reality and put the timeline back the way it should. Of course, the two of the
tapes. If we find a way to save this Xavier clown, we'll end up working together, but not being together.
Yeah, which actually is an interesting, it's a fairly interesting story. The idea that you found the love of your life and you're happy, but if you fix the timeline and save all these lives, you won't be together anymore. And it's like a real hero sacrifice, if you will. It's kind of similar to the the new Spider-Man movie, No Way Home.
It shows you their different perspectives on it too. Storm's like, well, isn't this more important? Saving the world, and he's just like, well, why would I care about anything else? Which is very reflective of Wolverine.
And there's even a moment where
wants happiness because he's never had it.
Where Storm says we have to do this, and Wolverine says okay, but there's like a moment where they really linger on Wolverine's face, indicating that maybe he's not going to go through with it, or that he doesn't. So we'll see what happens in part 2, I guess. This is the 2-part episode. If you didn't guess from the fact that this was called part 1. But anyway, they do end up going back in time to the 1959, May 11th, and we see young Charles Xavier walking around campus, talking to someone.
Darling, would you condemn the whole world just to keep our love?
You bet I would. Why would
I care
about anything else?
Why would I care about anything else? Love it.
Yeah, that's very Wolverine moment, and they stayed very true to the character. And like I said, very interesting. This is like some interesting stuff in this. It's not just bubblegum. There's like some real drama and real sacrifice involved, which is interesting.
This is a great episode.
It is a great episode. It is a great episode. I love 50s Charles with his little cardigan, not his cardigan, but his little V-neck sweater. And his other buddy's cardigan, and then it's very, very 50s. Yeah, looking pretty sly in that.
Looking sharp.
That yellow, you want a yellow undershirt with a brown tie and a light blue sweater on top of it, and brown pants, dark brown pants.
He stole his style from Stan Lee.
My God. So some fun banter.
Oh my God, why?
Is that the scene? Is that the scene where Bishop's falling back through time? Is that what it sounds like?
Yeah.
Okay. So there's some fun, intellectual banter, but then Charles is put upon by the mutants, who have to basically go to a local coffee house with him to convince him, that what's going on in the future, which is kind of fun. However, this scene is interesting because they go to this little cafe and then the bartender is upset or angry that they're there. And you think it might be because they're mutants, but we come to find out it's because there are African Americans at the table. And this is the 50s where segregation was still very much a reality of the United States. So, and it's even, bro, you must have this line from Storm when he gets mad at them for the black people being in the store.
No, I don't.
Oh, that's a great line. She says, what? They're judging us based on skin color. She's like, it's so archaic. It's almost like laughably cute. Like it's not even like something that's a thing anymore in their timeline, which makes me wonder if their timeline might be the better one. But
I got that one. I was at the end there. I was just grabbing clips quick. Oh my god! I'm never grabbing clips again.
So the guy that runs the cafe is obviously a dink. But basically, they're showing Charles footage of the future, and he's not really buying it until they let him read their minds and see what the future has in store, and then he kind of believes them, but he's still overwhelmed by all this stuff.
If we could time travel without you, mutant, we would.
Yes, that's why Master Mold needed Fitzroy, because he needed his ability to be able to do this. So, so we see the guy get angry, come over, get mad at them for, and also he notices that Wolverine and Storm are wearing matching wedding bands, so he's aware that they're an interracial couple, which seems to anger him even more. So he can. It's not the fact that they're wearing these weird '80s clothing. Like for the '50s, these guys really don't fit in. Like they wouldn't fit into the '90s, but they really don't fit into the '50s. It's like glowing armor and like bright blues and yellows and all these colors that are like.
This is a serious episode. This is great stuff.
Yeah, so the guy gets up. Well, two things I find hilarious is the guy's upset that these black people are in his restaurant, and then he just yells Rocco and what's the other guy's name? Like two thugs that are just hanging out in the back that are dressed in suits.
Yeah.
It's almost like they're mafia or something. They just come out of nowhere and attack them because they're in this guy's restaurant. And basically a battle ensues. But we see a local. Well, when they first go in the restaurant, which I forgot to mention. Shard says something like, "Oh, these are the hippies like of the past."
Oh, we got ahead of me there. That's why maybe I do have that.
That one's good.
Hold on. Well, that one I know I have.
Okay, you got that one's really good. You got to play that one.
Succeed, and you shall be the most powerful mutant alive.
I'll be the only mutant alive.
Well said.
Oh god, Master Mold might be the most pithy of all X-Men villains in this series,
he's
and he's a cyborg head. And
he had a body in that.
Scientist says that a thing is possible.
Oh my god! Yeah, this is what
says that a thing is possible. He is almost always right.
But when he says a thing is impossible, he is almost always wrong.
Yeah.
This is him. They're debating, and
but
Charles.
Evolution just isn't that quirky. We change gradually for a purpose.
Well, that is one way it happens for sure, but there is also a random mutation, which Bishop reminds him.
You are wrong, Charles. Single-generation mutations are possible. We are both living proof of it.
We're both living
and
proof.
Then the line you're looking for.
So these were the hippie days.
Beatnik days, Shard. Hippies came later, man.
Yeah, man. That's what he had. I couldn't remember. He said something that was very hippie-ish, which I thought was funny. I love how quaint that is, because like their future is like 2050, which is actually pretty close to our timeline as well, about 20 years from now. 2055, I think their year is. So it's not, as far as the timeline gets, how quaint hippies would be at that point would be like 100 years ago, almost. So
time travel, parallel futures, mutants and assassins. You can't expect me to believe all this.
Oh, they do. They do, Charles.
I'll take those.
I want to see if I can get these guys.
Coffee. It's been a while.
Wolverine gives that coffee. Man, imagine you haven't had real coffee in like a decade. Or you don't drink coffee, do you?
Iced coffee, yeah. But I just buy the jugs of it and pour one in the morning and have it on my way to work. So Moose and Rocco are the names of this.
Moose and Rocco.
That he yells from the back. They come out wearing like suits. They're both shredded, like just jacked, like massive. They all look like Ox from the Enforcers, and they both just come out, which is funny because they're not wearing very 80s outfits either. One guy's wearing a suit, which kind of works. The other guy's got like a vast rolled up sleeves and he's got a bowl cut. But anyway, it's and there's even a little cameo here, which I'll bring up as one of my
Sure.
My X points later. Are you familiar with what I'm going to say about this scene? All I'll say is that a local patron helps them during the fight, and Wolverine gives them the thumbs up, and then the fight continues on. So, do you remember that scene? Mm-hmm. If not, you'll be surprised later, which is great. So basically, they disperse with the thugs and get out of there. We see that Nimrod has arrived. They first think that it's Charles who ran off in the fight, but it turns out to be Nimrod in disguise. They get in a fight with Nimrod, and this is mirroring back to what we had seen at the start of the episode, where they start fighting Nimrod. And during the fight, Charles is still struggling with his future and runs out to decide to be heroic and help them. But as he does, he triggers the bomb that's connected to the front door of the building he's in. And then we get an inexplicably strange slow motion moment. Everybody's like, no.
That's the end of the episode.
Well, we see the bomb blow up, and that's the end of the episode. So,
crack the heavens! Remove this abomination!
Oh my God! Why? No one ever download Death Counter and Soundboard.
Poor Beast is just struggling through time, left and right. Or poor Bishop is through time. Oh
my God, it's still going.
He's just falling through time, left and right.
Beatnik days, Shard. Hippies came later, man.
Man. Are you just going through all of them?
That's the end.
Oh, that's what Storm's line is. Skin color prejudice. That's so pathetic. It's almost quaint.
Oh yeah, that is a great line.
Yeah.
Should add that.
End of episode.
But
so the Ouroboros, the snake eats its own tail. The fun time travel. This is the version of time travel I like. The one where you can't escape it. You have to find a way within it to get out of it. Otherwise, you're trapped within it. But the rules of what's come has come, and you can't really undo it. But with X-Men and with time travel in a lot of ways, it's always depicted differently depending on whatever thing you're. As long as someone agrees to the rules of time travel and sticks with them, it works for me. But you either got to pick that it can change or can't, and then stick to it. Just pick one way or another.
Yeah, I agree.
All right.
This is a good time travel story. Like things can get pretty timey-wimey, but
oh yes.
No, this one's real good. Better than the last one where they just kept sending him back and back and back. Ford's just like, hi, you're back again.
You've got to do it again, Ford.
This one, at least the story progresses a bit.
Each of us will have to look into his own heart and decide.
I'll start us off. I'm giving this one a 10. This one was fantastic. Pretty much a perfect episode of this show, even with maybe perhaps the B team doing the animation. Tons of timey-wimey stuff, like very topical, not topical per se, but historical
fun
themes like racism and things like that. And that's the future stuff. The AOA stuff's really cool, which wasn't ever my favorite story of Age of Apocalypse, but it's fun seeing it here in their
I have the giant. I think I might have pulled it out as a recommendation at one point, but I have the Age of Apocalypse omnibus, and I might have to dust it off and read it soon because it looks like it'd be a fun ride. It's a big book, but it's a lot to it.
Oh yeah.
Well, book. I'm going to give this an X as well. It's a great episode. I loved it. All the cameos were fun. All the story stuff was fun. The time travel stuff was fun. I'm a sucker for a good Back to the Future. We had to go back and save somebody to save the future kind of storyline when it's done well. And I feel like this one was done well. Seeing all the different character designs is really a treat, and seeing them all in action in this future, even if we don't really know much about them, just seeing them was pretty cool. So and
next. Even a nod to Morph.
And even the fun Ben Reilly Scarlet Spider back when he was in his fun red.
That's crazy.
Red and blue hoodie days, which is fun.
Well, let's see what else we can mine out of this episode here with our Uncanny X points.
I shall start because I don't want you to steal mine. The story is loosely based on the Age of Apocalypse comic event from 95 to 96. However, instead of fighting Apocalypse, the mutants are fighting for survival against humans. The majority of the Age of Apocalypse influence is seen in the alternate appearances of the characters, mostly. But in this version, Legion, who originally traveled back in time to kill Magneto but killed Professor Xavier by mistake, is replaced by Fitzroy, Bantam, and Nimrod, who intend to kill Professor Xavier from the start. So that's the key differences between the Age of Apocalypse storyline and this one. We do get a world without Xavier, which is basically the Age of Apocalypse world, but the method of how we got there has changed. Because we haven't established Legion or any of that stuff later. It seems odd that to not use somebody else, to use a villain that's someone we had, like Fitzroy and someone we've never seen before. But I guess it makes sense within the context of the story that they're from the future. So we wouldn't have met them yet because they're from Bishop's future. So yeah,
I think it's nice to introduce a new villain. Into
that's
this
fair.
series.
It just seems like some pretty big stakes, but I like it. I think it's good.
Okay, my X point: they misspelled Houston when they drew the credits at the start of this episode.
Oh, really?
Larry Houston. Yes, they left out the O.
Oh,
it's
poor
just
Larry.
Huston. He deserves better. All right, back to you.
Well, as I mentioned earlier, during the bar fight, a certain patron pulls the rug out from either Moose or Rocco, so he falls on his face when he's fighting Wolverine, and Wolverine gives him the thumbs up. And that character is very obviously Marlon Brando. He's wearing the outfit.
What?
He's wearing the outfit that he does in On the Waterfront. He looks exactly like him. So that's obviously a little nod to that movie, which takes place in the 50s, and Marlon Brando himself as an actor. So it's a little nod to a very classic film, which should be on your film list at some point there.
It's. I think it's there somewhere.
On the Waterfront. You guys must have these planned out for days.
I have a couple seasons planned out already.
Wow.
I don't mess around.
I see that.
Okay, this one I love the start of this episode. See, this episode has so many things I love. I love that it gets into Storm's love of nature and botany. That's something they touch on often enough in the comics. Like her room, if you look at the mansion, hers is like at the very top, and it looks like it used to be like maybe like a converted balcony or something, because it's all open with glass and it's just full of plants. And, she waters them with her powers and stuff like that. It's pretty cool, but she loves plants and nature, and I like that they showed a little bit of that, given that aspect of my beloved Storm's personality, and an aspect she and I share, a little love.
Oh, very nice. Very nice, very nice. I had a point here. There was
what aspects of our personalities don't Storm and I share? Let's be real. Be real here.
Fun little goof I just noticed. When Fitzroy opens the portal to go to the past, he's outside on a porch before getting shot at by Shard and Bishop. When he finally jumps in, he's shown to be inside near a window with curtains. So like he jumped through a portal to a different place and wound up somewhere else. So usually through the portal you saw where he was going, but it wasn't quite the same. So
Interesting. Okay, back to me. Well, I like that they say, so this is an interesting kind of parallel. They don't really spell out to you, but it's there. They say without Magneto, they lose the war. But what this whole story is about is without Xavier, they lose the peace. So it shows you the two aspects of those characters that make them different, Xavier and Magneto. And like one of them they need, because he's the battle guy. When things really get bad for mutants, it's Magneto that's going to stand up and do something about it. And and Xavier's the opposite. He's the guy who wants to toe the good line to try to convince the humans to see things their way and get there through peace. And I just thought that was interesting, and that was probably my favorite line in the episode.
All right, for mine, I will just a side note. I like that Beast is only seen in the alternate future. We don't see him in the past, which is kind of fun. But just to give you like a line, same with Magneto and all the others, but just to give you a line, like here's all of the cameos. I'm going to list them from this episode.
Wow.
So we get Captain America, Scarlet Spider, Iron Man, who I'm guessing is that version of that we couldn't figure out. Goliath, Wasp, Black Widow, Hercules. So those are the Avengers characters we see briefly. Well, I'm not going to count on the ones that we know, like Nimrod and those guys, Forge. Then the others that are seen during the battle or somewhere in the background or running around is Magneto, Blob, Rogue, Copycat, Pyro, Gambit, Jean Grey, Sunder, Beast, Sabretooth, Angel, Colossus, Mr. Sinister, Nightcrawler, Tar Baby, which is kind of an offensive name. Morph.
They mentioned Mimic yet?
Caliban, Callisto, Mask, Mastermind, Nightcrawler, Sunfire, Banshee, Polaris, Frenzy, Holocaust, Mimic, Wildchild, Blink, Malcolm, Randall, and Lobdell.
What? Where was Blink? I didn't notice Blink or Frenzy. There's a lot of those I didn't notice. I'm going to have to go back and watch this episode.
They may be in the next episode.
They happen so fast.
They may be in the next episode, but I do see a screen cap of her, so she's a member of the Mutant Resistance in the Xavier-less timeline, so it may be the next one. But this is the list that's shown for this episode, but sometimes they get it twisted and they have different things. When in a double episode, sometimes they lob those things together. So it may be the next one, but still, it's pretty cool. It's a lot of folks to see running around in the background.
Oh, it's crazy. I mean, I did rewind a bunch of times while I was watching.
Yeah, me too. I just paused a bunch of stuff.
But yeah.
Even Mask in the background is kind of neat. Like, it's an obscure character.
Well, Mask actually is who Rogue's holding when they fly in.
Yeah.
All right. Well, all right, back to me. This is my fourth one. Okay, the land crabs. They look familiar to you.
They look like AT-AT walkers, kind of.
They were just AT-ATs.
Yeah.
Like red painted AT-ATs from Star Wars.
Well, they were like things that were more crab-like, and then the bigger things that were kind of moving them around were the things that were like the AT-ATs.
Yeah.
But you know what's funny is me and a buddy argued forever about the pronunciation of those. I
Pretty
always
sure
said
AT-ATs.
Well, there's evidence that it is AT-AT because there are toy commercials that called them AT-ATs. That doesn't necessarily mean that that's the intent to be. Well, okay, well, there's an ATST, so we call those AT-STs.
Yes, AT-Street.
AT-ST.
AT-Streets.
No. That's what I mean. The ATST is not called AT-ST, it's called an ATST. So it's strange to me that it's called AT-AT.
That's fair.
But anyway.
I might be on your side now.
Well, it's all right. There are commercials that are like say AT-AT in them, like which is, my final point, I mean, aside from the costumes, which I mentioned and I loved, which is pretty cool, is the neat parallel that, like, in the 90s, the prejudice is purely between humans and mutants. It's like humans have found something to unify us beyond just hating each other for our skin color or where we're from. It's like we hate mutants now instead. It's like if you're human, if you're a black human, you're still human, good enough for me. But it's like the past, it's so quaint that they just dislike each other based on prejudice of skin color. That, like, Storm is really taken with how ridiculous that is. So it's even stupider than the one that they're like the real prejudice that comes from the future.
So it's like, wow, you guys really don't have any real problems here, do you?
Yeah, like you're literally just like,
petty,
oh, it's so quaint, it's so dumb. Like I thought that was quite clever, and I enjoyed that little nod to because the kids watching the show at the time, those are maybe savvy enough to have savvy enough to have known or know the world a little bit, or at least maybe know that prejudice exists, may resonate in some manner in which they're like, well, we still have to deal with that. So that's how stupid this is. And we still today, even 30 years later, are dealing with this stupid shit. So time marches on.
Indeed, it does. Sometimes it crawls on.
Yeah.
Well, my last point, I suppose I'll just shine a little light on Storm and Wolverine's relationship.
Yeah, I love it too. Me too.
They're in the comics. They're each my favorite partner for the other, and like I say, Storm's dated Forge and married T'Challa. She's not interesting or good with either of them. Okay with Forge. I like her and Forge's relationship. Okay, but her and Wolverine have just been through so much together. They just don't hide anything. They're just very upfront and persnickety with each other. It's quite nice. And and she's one person who can sort of command the respect and, like, stop Wolverine's role. So she's great for him, he's great for her. They're dating when he dies in the death of Wolverine, and I've talked about that scene many a time.
So when he came back, they didn't pick it back up?
No.
She's like, well, I moved on.
I think she, like, reignited the old flame with T'Challa again there for a bit.
Wolverine's not even dead for a year, and she's already running back to her ex.
Yep. So it goes. Like, I think they were always very on and off again anyway. It was never a really serious thing. They sort of just always seemed to date each other when they didn't have anything else on the go. But I liked it better. I like than their other relationships. So I'd like to see them rekindle that yet again, if possible. Well, that was my final point. Let's move it on to. Hey,
check this out.
Check this out. This is our comic reminiscences and recommendations segment. Now I'll go first. Now I'm pretty sure I've mentioned this before, at least when we've had Bishop his first appearance on the show. This is his first appearance in the comics, so I'm pretty sure I've shown this before. But
that guy makes
I'm going
a
to
cameo
highlight
in
this
the background there. In that one of those characters.
The
guy to the bottom right, isn't that Malcolm? He makes an appearance in this episode.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
there he is.
And I think the other guy is the other guy, Randall, because I think he makes an appearance too. Yeah, he does. So the two of them make appearances in the background of this episode, and they're helping Bishop.
That might be the next episode, is it, or is that this episode?
I think it's when you see some of his story in the flashbacks that they're showing.
So, Uncanny X-Men 281. This is the beginning of the new era. This is the first Gold Team issue. Written by John Byrne, art by Jim Lee, Whilce Portacio. This is good stuff here, and this is the first Trevor Fitzroy. He goes back in time to, not to murder Professor Xavier per se, but he's back there, kind of moving and shaking. Like, he is descendant, it seems, from Sebastian Shaw. And he goes back there and he starts something up called the Upstarts, and he's in with the Hellfire Club. And, but he's up to some shenanigans for sure. So it still means Bishop has to come back and stop him. And that's the first Bishop. And this is also the first Bantam.
Ah, yes.
It's going to be worth money there, first Bantam.
The sweet, sweet first Bantam. Very nice.
And then the story, it's a 3-issue story, so it ends in Uncanny X-Men 283. And it's a great story. First Trevor Fitzroy. That's all I'm going to say.
All right.
I don't want to spoil too much. But, Jean supposedly dies in it, but she actually just puts her consciousness into into Emma Frost. There's all kinds of crazy stuff happening here. It's a good story, though. Check it out. Like, Fitzroy shows up and he murders a bunch of the Hellions, like, right off the start. Like,
Fitzroy.
Oh, yeah. And then, like, he murders a couple more of them in the next issue in 282 there. He's just, like, laying out the Hellions. So, yep. Fitzroy, not the best guy. Not the best fella. Murders children.
What a dick.
Yeah, really.
All right. Well, for my comic recommendation, I'm going to go with the Southland Tales prequel comic book that expels I could help myself. I listened to that episode. I was like, I have to talk to you. So this is the first 3 parts.
You wasted your money on that.
I got it for like $5. Because I am
a waste of $5.
Well, you haven't read it yet. It might be good. Maybe it's superior to the movie. You don't know. My actual recommendation is
that movie was the most cynical garbage trash I've ever seen. But anyway,
well, my actual recommendation is Brian Lee O'Malley, who most people know for Scott Pilgrim, did another series called Snot Girl, which
Snot Girl.
Have you read it?
No, but I'm quite familiar with it. I've read a lot of panels from it and stuff.
The first 2 trades were at my local thrift place new to you, and they were like
no way.
Each. They were $1 each, so I picked them up and I read the first 2.
Man, I picked those up for $1.
I ended up buying the third one just because I was curious, because that's all 3. I think there's more coming, but that's the full thing that's been released so far. So I grabbed the third one on Amazon, just so I can get all of them. I haven't read the third one yet, but it's an interesting book. It's like very plugged into like modern culture when it comes to like Instagram influencers and that sort of thing. That's what it's
about. Like, she's
but there's also like,
but she's constantly got a runny nose.
Yeah, because she has really bad allergies. And obviously they do the parallel with her hair being green and all that sort of stuff, and they color her mucus green whenever that happens. But it's almost Lynchian in its storytelling. There's like a weird sub thing going on that's like, it's almost like a thriller. Like there's a mystery, but it's like, it's very slow fed to you. I think it behooves you to read it all at once than it does to like do it on drip feeds or reading it by issues. It might be a little tougher to follow it all, but overall, it's a very interesting story with and I'm not quite sure where it's headed yet, but all said and done, it's very not at all what I expected. I'm actually really enjoying it. So check it out. Snot Girl, Brian Lee O'Malley, art by Leslie Hung. And there's 3 volumes.
I like the art style. It's cool.
It's really nice. Yeah, it's very cool art stuff. It's funny considering I picked these up in New to You. I noticed when I was reading them in the bathtub because I have a jet tub, and when I was sitting in it, I opened one of the pages and like a piece of paper fell out, and then I realized that whoever had the book before ripped some pages out. I'm guessing they must have used them as wallpaper or something in their home. Not that I need the pinups that badly. It's fine. The story's still intact, which is all I really cared about. Considering it was $1, it's well worth it. So, yeah,
pinups, it's nothing.
And the Southland Tales trade, go read that.
Oh my God! Don't waste your time on anything Southland Tales, please.
Okay.
Listen to my podcast about it. You'll be convinced to not watch it.
You were very harsh.
Murphy even let me downgrade it to a C movie.
Very harsh.
Later on, yeah.
Another episode? You went all the way back to that? Ridiculous.
Yeah, he wanted to pick a movie instead of me, so I'm like, and he offered.
Honestly, the movies you guys dislike make me want to watch those movies more. You're so adamant about it. I'm like, I think I need to watch Gattaca, which I've never seen, and Southland.
You've never seen Gattaca? Eh?
No. I think I'm gonna have to watch it. It sounded interesting.
I liked it. It was good. It just doesn't hold up very well, which is the point of the podcast, I guess. Like, I remember liking Gattaca, then we watched it. I'm like, God, this is kind of boring, isn't it? But
yeah, maybe so.
Yeah, but like a movie about those themes now would be written better and more interesting, I think. And I don't say that.
Yeah, but once again, you got to put into context. But that's, I guess, the point of it being a hold up is that, like, in the context of when it first came out, it was unique and different. I know, like, at that time, this is like the world of like Gattaca and Johnny Mnemonic and all these weird, like, hey, we're going to do sci-fi stuff about the internet. But now it's everywhere.
There's so much about that now.
And it's been done infinitely better by other people now because they've had it all and more so to go on. But
yeah. All right. Well, moving on to Andre's favorite theme. Where's your remote taking us, other than to my movie podcast?
Well, I'm going to suggest the Arrow Blu-ray release of Southland Tales.
Oh my God! What are you doing? What are you doing? You wasted your money on that too? You're rolling in the dough. Are you going to go swim in your coins like Scrooge McDuck when we're done here?
Listen, Southland Tales is an epic jaunt through a dystopian future in which... No, I bought that in, I think it was Ireland or Scotland, and it's a region-free disc, and it was like $5, but in exchange. So, and I've always wanted to see it. I've actually never gotten to watch it. You know what? I am going to watch it, and I'll let you know what I think. And it's got the director's cut, so I'm curious as to maybe that makes it more watchable. My actual recommendation
can't make it less watchable.
My actual recommendation, and it's only because I totally forgot about the before or 90s or before thing. So. Because of that, I could try to grab something else, but I might just recommend this.
Don't worry about that.
All right.
You've been straying from that all over the place anyway.
No, I haven't, actually.
Haven't you?
I talk about new movies, but I generally stick to it. Okay. I was thinking about movies that involve time travel and ones that involve the cyclical nature of time travel. I mean, there are movies
that's coming up on Hold Up soon as well.
I'm assuming you guys are probably going to do, what's that one that everybody likes, that really low-budget one that was very popular? The time travel one is coming. It'll come to me in a minute. Not Pi, but it's like that. It's something that's like two guys in a garage, and it's like super low budget movie about time travel. What is it?
Primer.
That's the one. I'm assuming that's on.
Yeah, that was my pick.
Of course it is. Well, that's
no, it's the new movie.
I was going to say that's after the 90s.
I know. I took Murphy's pick, and he took one of my old picks, and he picked Time After Time.
Oh, the one about H.G. Wells fighting Jack the Ripper.
Yeah, I think so.
Well,
I've never seen it.
Yeah, David Warner's in it, and I know you know him from Star Trek. So
he was going to pick either that or Time Bandits. I was like, Time Bandits, and he went with the other one. But that's
you guys pick your third movie already for time travel?
Yep.
All right, because I was going to say this one might be an interesting one for you guys to watch.
I'll tell you what it is.
Well, this movie is called Time Crimes. and it's by Nacho Vigalando.
Nacho Libre?
No, Nacho Vigalando, who it's a Spanish film, but it's very good. It's one of the best versions of Trapped in a Time Loop I've ever seen, in which a guy initially stumbles across in his backyard, the woods behind his home, stumbles across a scientist laboratory thing in the woods where he gets roped into being involved in a time travel experiment, and then ends up having to try to put it right by going back in time multiple times through varied timelines, and then have to rectify the different versions of himself running around because the same version of him is going back in time at various points. So it's one of the best of these type of movies, like the one where and it does a really good job of keeping it straight. And if you're paying attention, you can follow everything, in which you see all these different versions of one guy running around because of errant time travel in different points in his own timeline.
Then Time Cop?
Yes, drastically better than that. It's very low budget, but Nacho Vigalando has kind of become more of a name in movies lately. This is the movie that sort of put him on the map and led him to doing other movies, most notably the one with Anne Hathaway, Colossal, in which she inadvertently controls a giant kaiju that appears in South Korea. That came out a few years ago. It's her and Jason Sudeikis are both in it, which is fantastic. But that movie is, if you haven't seen that one, I highly suggest. That's a normal English language one. It's fantastic. And you will believe Jason Sudeikis should play a villain in more movies because he is terrifying in that movie. But check out this one, Time Crimes, Nacho Vigalando. It's fantastic. It's really, really good. And as far as these sort of cyclical time travel stories go, it's the best one of those I've ever seen. Check it out. Well worth watching.
Well,
you have a time travel video game.
We didn't actually pick the third.
You should do this one.
No, because we have a guest. It's their pick.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Is it me?
Cousin Jeff's coming on that episode.
Oh,
no.
Okay.
I invited you on several times. I can only take so much rejection.
I'm a busy dude. I want to do it. I just don't have 9 hours to record a podcast on a Sunday.
It's a long one. All right. Well, yeah. Well, check it out, everyone. Timey-wimey stuff. No, I don't have a time travel video game. I couldn't think of any, but I didn't think to think of any. So
you can't think of any time travel video games from the
off the top of my
NES
head.
days? How far back do you
I'll
go?
think of
Did
it.
you check out after SNES, or is it NES is where you stop?
No, I like 64 quite a bit, though. As far as
so
hold up
60
goes, 64 does not. It's just quite clunky. It was trying to push new technology.
Come on,
64.
GoldenEye, WrestleMania
GoldenEye
2000.
is hard to go back and play now.
Pod Racer, Perfect Dark, Super Mario 64.
Great.
All great
I
movies.
loved
All
Perfect
great
Dark.
games.
Oh yeah, I mean Mario Kart 64 is fantastic. Oh look, I love 64. It's just not nearly as good as the system of Super Nintendo.
The Legend of Zelda. There's a great time game for you.
Yeah,
That involves time
Ocarina.
travel.
Ocarina.
Turok
Ocarina
Dinosaur
of Time.
Hunter. That's about time travel.
That's a good one. It's okay. Yeah, I used to rent that one. Yeah, I did check out after 64 though. I never got a GameCube.
Body
And then
Harvest is a big one.
Then I got a Wii once it was already like 6 years old.
Yeah, I got a PS5. That's generally my go-to right now.
We got all that stuff here too. I just don't play them.
What do you
so
have?
my Tiffany plays them.
Oh, well, she has good taste.
Yeah.
Not in
Well,
partners,
yeah,
but in
Oh,
not in fathers of her children. I'm kidding. She has excellent
Yeah.
taste. She has excellent taste in partners and co-parents.
excellent. 16-bit gaming with Super Nintendo Skelhorn. I am going back to the Super Nintendo because why? All the best games are for that system. And the one I'm choosing, I don't actually have a physical copy of here because I only ever rented it. But next time I see it, I'm gonna buy it.
I would like to make just a caveat in this category at the very end. I'll be fast about a time travel game.
Yeah.
You do your thing. I'll just try it at the end.
Okay. Well, back to what I was doing before I was so rudely interrupted.
Sorry.
No worries. I usually do the interrupting.
The gym's got me. Ooh.
X-Men Mutant Apocalypse. Now, I love it. This is a great game. I don't love it as much.
This game without Apocalypse being the villain. If they call it Mutant Apocalypse, they made the villain like Toad.
Fitzroy.
Fitzroy. The evil Fitzroy. And the kid's like, who the
The
fuck's
evil
Fitzroy?
Fitzroy. Who's this Fitzroy? Trevor? Or the bad guy's Trevor?
His name's Trevor. Bullshit. No good villain's named
But
Trevor.
no, I love X-Men Mutant Apocalypse.
Like
I don't like it
Mom's
as
New
much
Boyfriend.
as X-Men for Sega, because X-Men for Sega is 2 players, and this one was not. I feel like they missed the ball on that, and it used to make me mad as a kid. But you get to be picked from these 5 characters here: Psylocke, Cyclops, Wolverine, Gambit, and Beast. They all have their own levels. It's a fun game. It's hard, like everything back in those days, but not too hard. It's not like, Arcade's Revenge hard. But check it out, everybody. It plays sort of like X-Men for Sega, but maybe a little more refined because it's for Super Nintendo. So it's like it plays a little smoother than X-Men. I just don't like it quite as much. But again, great game. If this was 2 players, it'd probably be my favorite game ever. Great choice of characters. Beast is fun to play with because he can hang upside down and walk on the ceilings and that sort of stuff. He's very cool. He's probably my favorite to play in this game, whereas Nightcrawler is my favorite to play in the Sega game. So, yeah, check it out, everybody. X-Men Mutant Apocalypse. It will be mine one day.
It will be mine.
She will be mine again. Oh, yes.
My caveat add-on to the time travel video games is Turtles in Time for the Super Nintendo.
Good one. Yeah.
It's a fantastic time travel video game.
Yeah. Another one that I don't have a physical copy of because I always just rented.
They recently put out the Cowabunga collection, which has like all of the old NES, Super NES, Nintendo Turtle games. So that's included. The arcade version and the SNES version are both on it. And,
I'm one of those crazy people who will say good things about the first NES Turtles game.
Oh, that
gets
one's
overshadowed,
of
course. It's tough. Oh, it's tough.
Yeah, but it's fun. But yeah, check that one out. I actually recently, sometimes when you play the arcade one, you can just hit, I think, start and give yourself extra quarters, so you can just like have unlimited lives essentially. So it's a great game just to play for fun. Like when I listen to records, I'll throw it on. This is just something to do. Because I like listening to records, but I also don't like just stand there and stare at the ceiling. So it's nice when you play games you don't need to listen to. I play a lot of the old SNES Classic or NES Classics that way because I have those 2 little small systems that have all those games on them. So yeah, they're fun.
Right on. I'm too old school for new school versions of old school things.
It's just the same game with a different controller. Calm down.
I know.
What is this? There's a video game called Luigi and Mario Partners in Time. Role-playing game.
I don't know.
For the DS. Oh, never mind. It's for the DS.
Okay. It sounds like it's probably like a follow-up to Mario is Missing or something like that.
Maybe.
Which, boy, the biggest I was ever fooled by a video game was Mario was Missing.
Mario wasn't, in fact, missing.
It was just, you just go around and talk to people. It's hardly even a game, and I was not expecting that from a Mario game in my youth. Yeah, that one. Which I guess it spun out into Luigi games, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, interesting. All right, let's play a game. Why not? It'll be a quick one. Live remakes. It's our little twist on our expert casting segment. So, Andre, in the MCU, who plays Trevor Fitzroy?
God. He's got to kind of be a shitty character. Not like a shitty, but like kind of a young, sort of asshole-ish sort of character, like a Quentin Quire type, but not Quentin Quire.
Older.
Plays Trevor Fitzroy. Yes, a little bit older, but like that sort of like shit-eating kind of like, the bully in like
100%.
In a teen movie kind of character. You know who I think would actually, and is an actor, so not that he's in a lot of stuff, but Dolph Ziggler, the actor from that's in the WWE, he would be good at that role.
Is he a wrestler or an actor?
He's a wrestler, but he does some acting, more so wrestling.
Oh, okay. All right. Fair enough. Casting a wrestler.
Well, right. Let me pick something that's maybe more or less, because people don't be familiar with
Jason Sudeikis.
No, Sudeikis is like, I mean, everyone knows him from that feel-good soccer show he's on, Ted Lasso now. But I feel like I gotta think of someone that's like a skinny, jerky,
kind of smarmy,
skinny character that's like got crazy, unruly hair.
Who's got crazy, unruly hair these days?
Who was the guy that played Beaker in Beaker's Laboratory? That guy from that time period. He has to be that time period. Do you remember that show? Tall, skinny, kind of weird. I'm going with Beaker from Beaker's Laboratory. You not feeling it?
You don't know it.
You never watched Beaker's Laboratory?
That sounds sort of familiar, but I can't picture it off my top of my head now. Interesting. All right, I'm going to cast Master Mold.
Oh, okay.
Because he's very pithy. Who's got the right his?
I would have said James Spader before he was Ultron.
Oh God, so would I. Who's another Spader type? I'm gonna have Mastermind played by Wrench Spiner.
I know who should play Fitzroy. Sorry, his name is Billy Magnuson. He do you see the movie Game Night when like the couples are playing games? No, okay. He's in a lot of. Did you see the live action Aladdin?
No.
Okay. He's in a lot of
live action remakes of Disney movies are a bit of an abomination.
Oh, come on. Nobody's taking away.
Make new movies.
I agree with you. I agree with you. But
make a new movie. It ain't broke.
Yeah. Well, he's been in a lot of more modern movies playing kind of a dickhead. Did you see the last James Bond movie? He was in that. No Time to Die.
I haven't seen. I only saw one of the Daniel, whatever his name is.
Craig. All right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I saw Casino Royale.
That's fantastic. That's probably the best one of Daniel Craig's ones. I
liked it.
I actually, one time when I was in Montreal, I went up for a friend's surprise 50th birthday party, and I went a few days earlier because I like Montreal. So I was like, I'm going to go, do some stuff in the city. Although this was March of 2020 when I arrived there, and I'm pretty sure I had COVID at the time because I was like super sick. And this is before we all knew about it. I wasn't like doing stuff that I shouldn't have when I shouldn't have. But I was sitting in Montreal eating a sandwich, and I couldn't taste it at all, which is weird. And I
Montreal smoked meat?
Yep. And I couldn't taste it at all. It was like, and I was like, well, something's definitely wrong here. I thought it was because my sinuses were so full. But I'm pretty sure I had probably had COVID at that point. So
all right, now we're gonna cast Sheridan Bishop.
Oh, Bishop.
You take Bishop.
Who's an actor I really like? He's gonna be joining the Marvel Universe soon enough. They've already announced it. He's playing Wonder Man.
Nuts.
Jaemeel Abdin or whatever, the guy that's playing.
Mateen.
He's in the new Candyman movie. He played the Black Manta in the Aquaman movie. So we already got him covered.
Yeah, we already got him coming in.
I always thought Chiwetel Ejiofor would have been good, but he's already Baron Mordo.
He's already in there, yep.
And I like the guy from Nope, but he's also in there already because he's in the Black Panther movies.
Oh.
Well, he's in the Black Panther movies. He's the bald chick's partner.
He's Wakabi.
That's his name. Yeah. Well, it's funny because almost everybody I would want to cast has already been in the Marvel Universe. Like I was like, Idris Elba would be great in that role, also already there. Jamie Foxx would have been all right, also already there. Like, let's see if someone that's like a younger black actor. You know what? Common would be all right in that role.
Common, isn't he like 50? Oh well, that's fine.
Yeah, but Bishop doesn't have to be young.
True, Bishop doesn't have to be young.
Can be weathered.
All right, we'll see. I don't know if I'm down with that pick, but we'll see. We'll see. Shard. Oh, geez, I don't know. Shard. Who's going to play?
Let me matriculate what you're thinking about Shard because I think I can come up with a better option.
I'm gonna go off the board with Shard.
Off the board, where are we going?
I'm gonna pick someone from a show I've watched recently that I enjoyed quite a bit. Res Dogs.
Oh, I gotta watch that show.
Reservation Dogs is great.
Yeah, Mark Maron's in episode Oh, I know who I'd cast as Bishop. But anyway, you continue. You continue talking about Shard. Sorry, go ahead.
I'm just gonna pick one of the people from that show. I'll pick. I'm gonna pick. Maybe she's too young. Well, I guess she can be Bishop's younger sister, right?
Yeah,
How old do you figure Shard is? I don't know.
25.
Hard to say. Yeah, that's gonna tough. All right, well, I'm gonna go off. I'm gonna save that pick for another time. So for Shard, now that's tough. We don't know a lot about Shard. I could just say anybody, and it's not wrong.
Yeah, I mean, you could literally pick. It's a lot of options.
Yeah, a lot of options. All right, I'm just gonna go with the pick. I'm gonna say the I don't know her name. The actress who plays Willie Jack on Reservation. She's hilarious. I just want her in the MCU doing something because I love that character. Shard. I'd like to save a bigger character for her, but until I think something better, we'll cast her.
Yeah, that works. Well, my pick would have been, but I forgot that he was already in the Marvel Universe, if only briefly, would have been Sterling K. Brown. But he was he's on that show that everybody loves. The what's that movie? This Is Us. Black guy. He was in. He played Killmonger's father in Black Panther. You only see him in the flashback when he gets killed by.
Oh yeah, he's a good actor.
Yeah, he's fantastic.
I just saw him in an episode of Boston Legal that was hard to watch, man.
He was on the Marvelous.
They put him to death, and it is friggin' tough to watch.
He's really good in the Marvelous Miss Maisel as well. But he's a fantastic actor, and Marvel does recycle people sometimes. So maybe they could reuse them. But if they didn't, I would suggest John Boyega because I like him.
I can see John Boyega as Bishop.
He's young.
I like that one better. Yeah, let's go with that pick.
Because it's funny because most of the prominent young black actors in Hollywood today have been in Marvel movies already. Like literally, if you like doing a skim of like who are the popular young black actors, like Jonathan Majors or any of these guys, Idris Elba. And then Idris Elba isn't young, but they've all been in Marvel movies already. So.
You know what? Now that you've picked John Boyega just to be funny, I'm going to change my Shard pick. Save Willie Jack for a better character. And I'm going to cast Daisy Ridley as Shard.
I buy that. I like her a lot. It's the same like Star Wars shoehorns people in a way. Like, I don't want to shit on it because I do love me some Star Wars. But, they're great actors. Let them go. Like, she's a great actress. Let her go do some other stuff. She could be Shard. I buy that. Yeah, I'd be curious as to how their family situation works out, but whatever.
We had to stumble around, but we got there. I like our English. Picks. We got there, and they're already both owned by Disney.
That's right. Well, I mean, Boyega seemed to have some relationship with the Star Wars people. He wasn't super happy with how he's depicted in the last few.
Makes sense.
I don't blame him. He wasn't depicted super well.
Well. All right. Well, we're getting there. We're getting to the end of this series. It's still running on all cylinders. This is a 10 out of 10 from both of us. Mm-hmm. It's just the drop off might be very drastic in season 5. It'll be interesting. I feel like our podcast is even going to have a whole different feel in season 5.
Oh, based on everything I've heard, I feel like 5 is going to be a real like slog. But I think we'll have fun with it. So.
I think so too. It'll just have a bit of a different tone.
And well, it actually I'm glad that we have the announcement that there's a new thing coming because we didn't if we knew this was the end and that was the end all be all of the series, it would be a downer. But knowing that there's more coming, it makes it less depressing and sad because it's like we're going to get more and they're probably going to do a great job of it. So why not? Oh, did you hear the exciting news? New news that came out today about the Marvel Universe?
About John Bernthal?
John Bernthal's back as the Punisher in the new
series. I'm very excited. Oh yeah, that's anything else would have been a mistake.
Of all the perfect casting, I always thought Frank Grillo would have been good in that role, but we already had him as Crossbones. But Bernthal's
Bernthal's I think a stronger actor.
Yeah, it seems like this Daredevil series is going to be a little more family friendly and less dark than the Netflix one was.
Likely so.
But I'm hoping that they'll let because I've always. This is my complaint with some of this stuff is like the Punisher series I liked on Netflix, but
Me
it took
too.
us two seasons to just get him to be a guy wearing a skull shooting people. And you only get that at the end of the second season. Like, I want to see the Punisher in the van with Microchip going around fucking people up. Just doing like Garth Ennis's run on Punisher Max or Garth Ennis's run on Marvel Knights Punisher. Just Punisher being Punisher and then work a story into that. Like, I don't want to see another season-long origin story. Well, first we got like a season of Daredevil origin story, then his own series, which was just continuing on that origin story. Then the second season, which was still carrying on that origin story, and then wrapping it up at the end where he's finally the Punisher. And it's like, I just want to see him be the Punisher in a van with a skull in his chest, shooting up punks. That's what I want to see. So I'm hoping we get some of that.
With Microchip telling him who to go kill.
That's right.
But it's the Netflix shows, as much as I love them, their downside was that they sort of fell back into the old problem with superhero movies, where it's like superhero movies used to be ashamed to be superhero movies. So that's why, Bryan Singer dressed all the X-Men in black leather and stuff, because, they were ashamed of the material, and it came out in the final product, I thought. So the Netflix series sort of felt like that a little bit, where like they were ashamed to be making superhero shows, so they just kind of weeded as much out of that as they could. Like, how long did it take for us to get Daredevil in the Daredevil costume?
The whole season. You only got him at the end of season 1.
Yeah.
And then they had a season 2 where he was in it, and then season 3 they got him out of it at the beginning and then didn't get him back in until the end. So it's like, I just want to, but I do
Luke
like
Cage jumped into it a little better, a little quicker.
I love
that series.
I did like him on She-Hulk, and I did like the look of that costume. I thought it was kind of neat. I would like.
Rumor has it
She'll
Jessica Jones and Luke are coming back too. Same.
Yeah, and then I bring back Danny Rand.
I doubt it.
I didn't mind that show. I thought Colleen.
I didn't mind it either.
The guy that played his brother was Meacham was very good.
He was the star of that show.
He was very good, and like the fact that his character came around and became like a hero towards the end of the series was almost a more redemptive arc than the main character.
I was watching that show for him and Colleen, pretty much.
Yes.
Like the problem with it was it's not that show. It's like the worst part of that show was Iron Fist.
Yes. The Defender
and they only give you, again, it was a shame to be Iron Fist. They put him in the yellow bandana for like a flashback scene for like 5 seconds.
It wasn't even him. It was Randall, the one from the past that was wearing it.
No, it was Danny. They showed him doing a training montage and he wore it.
Oh, well, they showed a previous Iron Fist in a flashback that had the yellow bandana, but it was like the Randall.
Too.
What was his name? Randall?
Yeah,
something
Randall Meacham?
No, it wasn't him. It was like in the
right. The old
in Brubaker's run on Iron Fist, they established previous Iron Fists, and he was one of them.
Yeah.
I can't remember his name.
Yeah, it is Randall something. I think you're right.
Yeah.
Well, we do have one more segment to go. How foolish of me.
Oh yes, of course.
Yes, indeed.
All I need now is for you to contact your students, Professor.
I'm psychically
just jump in here.
I'm psychically transmitting what your homework is to all of you right now. You should be receiving it.
So Andre says our homework is to...
No, I've sent it to all of them already. They all have it already.
Go back and watch Nightcrawler. Be sure to watch Bloodlines, because after that we'll have an interview with the writer, Len Yuli. So
that's not for a while yet. Are we not talking to him until April?
Yeah. That's only like 5 episodes from now or something. It's 5 or 6.
It's true. Well, your actual homework is to watch the second part of this episode, which is One Man's Worth, part 2 of 2, in which we see them go the other way. So we've seen Bishop and Shard go in the past to try to prevent the death of Charles Xavier, and then in the second part we see them go to the future, the one in which Fitzroy was sent back from Master Mold and interact that way. So that'll be fun.
Mm-hmm. Do it. Support the show. Patreon.com/X-Men Review Show. Get your cool merch there. We'll get some new merch maybe on the go here, Andre. What do you think?
Cool merch. I like it. Yeah, we got some stuff in the fire that you have already, I think, don't you?
No.
Yes, you do.
No.
The stuff I sent you and said we'd start on season 5. Or did I say season 5 or season 4? This guy.
Was it just the X-rated logo?
No, we'll talk about it later. I don't want to review it unless you want to review it.
Contact us at xmenreviewshow@gmail.com. Follow us on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitch. Find our audio-only version wherever you get your podcasts. Please like, review, and subscribe. Not enough reviews. We get lots of subscribers. Like
review us, goddamn
you. A lot of subscribers. I'm very happy with the amount of subscribers. At least on the Facebooks. Very good, everybody. But, if some reviews would be cool. And we are a proud member of the United Federation of Podcasts. Oh, yeah, those. Oh, yeah, we do have merch coming. There's some more merch coming for sure.
I sent you all this stuff a long time ago.
Oh, my God. I got to go back and find it now. Well,
I'll
find it. I'll find it for you all. But, yes, we are a proud member of this very federation. Well, there's one show I know of in the Federation. Tell us what's going on.
Well, on our next episode,
the Graphic Histories podcast.
Well, our next episode, we have Richard Kelly, director of Southland Tales, coming on.
Oh my God!
I'm kidding. I would love to talk.
That movie's gonna haunt me for the rest of my life.
I can't wait to watch it and then tell you about how much I loved it and why. Because I feel like you and our debate would be much more elaborate than the one that you and Mike Murphy might be having. Because
likely more civil as well.
Oh, I'm certainly not going to yell at you or call you a fucker.
He always does that.
Oh, well, he's a passionate man.
I drive people to the point of getting personal.
No, I don't think it's necessary. I think if your argument, I mean, whatever. You guys, the show is entertaining. Like I said, I enjoy it. And I actually, in the new episode of my show, I do give you a little plug at the end because I just started listening to it and I really liked it. But yes, my new episode drops this Friday, in which I talk with Hugh Rookwood, who is an artist, illustrator. He does a lot of work. He just won a pretty prestigious award for a children's book he did recently about what's his name? He's a famous folk hero from. He's a famous folk hero from Alberta. He was a black cattle rancher, John something. Oh man, I talked yesterday with him because I recorded.
The art, though, you've been posting some art from your guests here, and like that Ninja Turtles picture was amazing.
Oh, his stuff's amazing. You can't miss.
Yeah, his stuff is amazing.
John Ware is the name of the character. Joware. He's a famous cattle rancher in Alberta that came up. That was a former slave that came up from the States. That was probably one of the best cattle ranchers in the world. Very interesting story. He did a children's book based on this guy's story, but he also did a bunch of comics, graphic novels, alternate covers, that sort of stuff. Very charming guy, very friendly guy, super positive, and we have really cool talk about art. And he has some really interesting stuff that made me kind of think about alternative art and people that really focus on the, like, if you're like, I'm going to subvert the expectations on art, what you need to know to be able to do just that is very interesting. And Hugh frames it in a way that I've never thought about before. And it was kind of mind bending to me. So we had a great talk, really cool conversation, great guy. And that drops this Friday. Check it out.
Very cool. Very cool. Well, as definitely check that out, everybody. As Andres mentioned, there's a Hold Up, the movie podcast. The last one was on journalism. We did Network, The Year of Living Dangerously, and
look at old Gilbert Godfrey in the corner there in the bottom. Is that who that is?
No,
The Year of Living Dangerously.
God, I wish it was. Like it's Linda Hunt. It's Linda Hunt. Do you know who Linda Hunt is?
That is Gilbert Godfrey. It's got to be in that picture.
No, it's Linda Hunt playing a half Chinese male character, and it's one of many, many things I don't like about that movie. So that was The Year of Living Dangerously. That was the one Lenore Zan told us was her favorite movie on this very show.
Oh, she's the one from that show with.
I did not like that movie.
Didn't she do that? She's the one that Edna Mole was based on in The Incredibles, right? Her sort of look.
Yes.
Okay,
she gets drawn. A lot of animated characters get based on her.
Wasn't there a TV show she did with, or maybe with it getting her mixed up with somebody else?
I found that movie very boring and problematic. I will.
The Incredibles?
No,
The Year of Living Dangerously. That makes more sense. I was like, what are you talking about? Shit on The Incredibles over here?
What could you be talking about? You shit on everything, don't you? I'm never listening to your podcast again.
I like it.
Says. We got
Listen,
you
if you
hooked.
can find a way that I don't have to work or do other things to make money and just be on podcasts, I will happily be on this show 100%.
I'm trying to nail down that format, so I'll let you know if I get it.
Because I dig the show. I think I would have fun on it. I just got to figure out a way that I can do it. I'll just leave this show and I'll do that one instead.
Jameel's going to do an after show eventually. I thought he was going to do an end segment, so he's going to do an after show. There's an end segment.
I feel like the show.
I mean,
like 4
it's
hours
going to be for like
already.
Patreons. It's going to be like for
after show?
Patreon, like exclusives or something like that. You know. But the next one we're doing.
Are you doing Stay Tuned?
Yes.
That's one of my all-time favorite movies.
Are you going to join us? You can join us next week on Wednesday if you like. UHF, stay tuned, and good night and good luck.
I never watched Good Night and Good Luck, but I deeply love UHF and Stay Tuned. Stay Tuned is so good. I got trivia on Wednesday nights, dude. I can't do it. That's right. A paid gig.
You do.
Pick another night.
Well,
I got rehearsal.
I'll talk to Murphy.
I got this on Tuesdays. Monday's the only day I have free, and it's like.
See what we can do. Anyway, check out Super Mater Brothers. They're doing reality show reviews over there. The Mary Mater Marvel Society. We just reviewed Quantum Mania. That was fun.
What did you guys rate it?
Oh, I rated an 8 out of 10.
Really? That's higher than I would have rated.
Yeah, I think so.
I feel like the hero's journey.
But it's like all the daddy-daughter sentiments really.
But they didn't really stick the landing on that. Like it just to me, like I like the movie.
No, they didn't.
I think it's fun, but I feel
it didn't stick the landing at all. Really, as a movie, Bill Murray was a waste of time.
Oh yeah, 100%. And like Kang, I don't think Kang should have been the villain of that story. There's no real need for him. They should have made it Psycho Man and made it somebody else that made sense and saved Kang for something bigger.
Kang's going to be the villain in a million different things. Like Moon Knight season 2 is rumored to be the villain's rumored to be Kang as Rama Tut. Like Kang's going to show up as the villain in like 10 different projects.
Jonathan Major's bank account has done some stretching because it's going to explode pretty soon. I mean, honestly, he is such a good actor. If you haven't seen Lovecraft Country,
I love Lovecraft Country.
I actually haven't seen last episode yet, so I got to catch up. But
I don't know if I finished it, but I was
and the new Creed movie I haven't seen yet, which he's in as well. But like he is so good, and like I don't want to get into too much spoilers, but when you see him doing other versions of Kang, he's so unique and different in each one. Like it's so cool that like they're different. Like there's a hint of some like he is the highlight of that movie by far. But like the I don't want to go into too spoiler territories, but they set up at the beginning this whole thing about Ant-Man like stepping back from wanting to be a hero because of everything he's been through, and they don't really. Like he kind of does become one again, but only because he's forced, and they don't really even give him like an arc where he like finds himself again. It's like he's lost at the beginning, and then he's still lost at the end. Like I just feel like there is, I don't know. I feel like they should have sacrificed some of the grand spectacle to actually do a more human story. That would have made me happy.
I agree,
but I did enjoy it for the most part. But I do think Jonathan Majors is by far the highlight, and Kang the Conqueror is one of my all-time favorite villains, and I think Marvel has knocked it out of the park with this choice for the actor and how they're doing it.
Oh yeah, great, 100%. Also check out the Hellbound podcast, Michael Chan and Alex Blackburn. Michael Chan, who just nailed a CBS pilot. He's doing big things over there, Michael Chan.
Oh, good for him. He also bought one of my T-shirts, so he'll be sporting that pretty soon.
Yeah, the Andre Maya T-shirts, the old school T-shirts. Right. I got to get one of those too. It's a good design.
Thank you, sir.
Also, check out KBBBL podcast, where the extra B is for BYOBB. We talk about Simpsons every Friday. We just extra B was for the Babysitter Bandit.
Ooh, that's 2 B's.
Yeah, sometimes it does. It's BYOBBBBBBB podcast. Also, check out Trivial Debates. Next one's on wrestling, I believe.
Yes, I may.
You gonna be on that, Andre?
Andre
might be on there.
I think I messaged Murphy, but I'm not sure if did I get a final thing on that or not. I don't know. Anyway, we'll chat maybe.
Yeah,
I think he was going to check back in with me a couple weeks before it happened. So,
okay. Well, Andre could be a contestant on that. And also, if you like Star Trek, we have a ton of content in Live Long and Podcast. We've got, look at that sweet logo there. We've got some great logos. Command Division, for show reviews, Science Division for all my silly shows, but they're fun. Check them out. And long-form stuff with me and Dave Puxley over there at the Locutors of Trek Division. And, of course, there's the Ops Division, where we do Star Trek Radio Theater, play video games, things like that. The next Star Trek Radio Theater is coming up, based on the Lower Decks 3-issue comic book series. We're bringing it all to life. I'm playing Bradward Boimler. Check it out.
Once again, I want to do one of these sometimes. I think it'd be fun.
They are fun. This one's going to be.
I'm an actor, man. I got my union card. If I get my actor dues for this,
look, we got a whole federation of podcasts for you. You've got no time, Andre.
Well, that one,
you've got no time.
I've always wanted to do an old school radio show. It'd be fun.
Okay.
Well, when do you guys generally record those ones?
Those are usually like Sunday nights.
I could maybe able to make that work.
Or Saturday night. Sometimes Saturday nights. Saturday nights.
Yeah, that might work. I mean, Saturdays are busy, but yeah, my whole life's busy. Someday we'll make it work. I'd love to be in one of those.
I think the one after this one is some silly TOS episode, like one of the really silly ones. That's it. That's the Federation. Check it out, everybody. Any final thoughts, Andre?
Final thoughts. I think you should revisit the magnum opus.
All right, we're calling the show right now. See you later, everybody. Show's over.
Catch you next time.
Saying any more things. Catch you next time.
Don't you leave me.
Wolverine, do not worry. You are stuck with me a little longer.
Oh, you know it, darling.
Later. Catch you next time, everybody.
Beautiful.
1, 2, 3.